In July 1967, British singer-songwriter Donovan dropped There Is a Mountain. One of those hippie pop-type songs that your parents' parents probably did drugs to. Donovan himself did a lot of drugs, too, and the lyrics to this song were notably strange. First, there is a mountain. Then, there is no mountain. Then there is. I think my initial reaction here was probably, someone's very confused. But actually, the lyric refers to the teaching of Zen Buddhism. First, there is a mountain. A mountain is a highly elevated patch of land, generally rising very steeply and pronouncedly from the surrounding environment, and normally at least 300 meters higher than surrounding terrain. This makes them extremely visible even from long distances. Mountains are unsubtle things, likely to be noticed and unlikely to make a quick getaway. If there is a mountain near you right now, you probably already know about it. Then, there is no mountain. To those who walk the Eightfold Path, a core tenet is that all matter is in constant flux, and all things are impermanent. What may appear right now as a mountain will, in the grander course of time, be the component parts of a great many different things. One day the sun will go supernova, and the Earth and all its particles will be removed from the universe, but until that day our planet will continue to be a wall of chaotic, scattered energy and matter, like dust motes caught in a vacuum cleaner. Absolutely none of that is what this game is about. There are no mountains, there are no lakes. Even the observer only exists in one fleeting moment, and how can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? A Buddhist knows there are no things, specific. Only things, general. And then there is. Wise as they may be, having peered out into infinity, once the meditation is done, the Buddhist then has to exist once more in the world, as they are, where they are. This means it's important for them to once again understand which elements of matter currently make up their own body, so they don't trip over their own feet or bite the inside of their own mouth or something else really annoying. At the end of the day, a Buddhist needs to eat food and drink water and go home to bed. All things that are easy to take for granted, but very difficult to do if you're seeing everything that could be in all of time rather than what is, right now, your lunch. I guess the mountain can come back too. What I want us to focus on today is how the initial sentence, first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is, through tactical use of words, conveys a lot more words than are in the actual statement. How you can say a little and mean a lot. The exact opposite of what we do here on the show. We're also probably playing a video game or something. The game today is Fire Emblem 4. Genealogy of the Holy War. I've been big into Fire Emblem recently, and I'm always into old, weird, probably bad, strange things that don't work particularly well, made by strange, weird, and probably bad people. Like the pirates. You probably heard of Fire Emblem at this point, but we're going back to the days when the series was headed by a crazy person and none of the games were released in English for today's episode, via a fan translation and a definitely real Super Nintendo. If you somehow haven't heard of Fire Emblem, if you're still wondering who this math fella from Smash Brothers is supposed to be, just know that Fire Emblem 4 is a turn-based strategy eugenics em-up that comes with a Nintendo seal of approval. And math isn't in this one.
It's a long trip back home to MDVA, my friend.
This is a game I've played before, and is a game I have a lot to say about. As a series, despite staying true to its turn-based strategical roots, Fire Emblem has been a lot of different things. The Game Boy titles are simple, colourful, pacey, and easily digestible strategy games. The Nintendo DS ones are boring and bad. The Of Radiance titles are excellent, but you can't play them because they're too expensive, and the modern era games are dumb and too anime. There's no arguing with any of that, that's just how it is. Once upon a time though, there was a man by the name of Shozu Kaga. Bit of a wrong'un. As series head, he sought to make a wildly different game every time. Fire Emblem 4 is widely considered as the moment he was properly unleashed, because it's some supremely weird nonsense, and 5 was after it. Heal staves can miss in that one. Prince Gandalf? Are these fuckers still going? I don't know if I've mentioned this yet on the show, but I am extremely not a fantasy guy. Like, generic fantasy. I'll manage if it's good stuff, but there are certain tropes I can't abide, and one of them is opening your media event by listing by name 1,000 different regions. To me, it gives the impression of being read to from a phone book of Middle-earth. I don't know these people, man. What are we doing? One of the things the nerds love Kaga for is his grand fantasy world building and storytelling. And those boys are in luck because his games don't get much grander in scope than this. Genealogy is a generation-spanning tale of medieval political intrigue. Not Jungbe! What's happening right now, just the part that concerns us, is that the Kingdom of Verdane, supposedly our allies, have launched a surprise attack on Jungbe Castle, which is woefully undefended as all the lads are out doing a holy war. Our best blue-haired boy Sigurd controls basically the last scraps of our military who aren't out, but he's not going to let this betrayal go unpunished. We're introduced to all the lads in turn, which might be a good opportunity for me to go off about them. The established way to talk about Fire Emblem's boys is that you list a bunch of numbers and then a bunch more numbers, like this. The full numbers representing their initial fighting power, and the percentage is the likelihood of them getting any better in that particular number on level up. A lot of Fire Emblem is playing a big slot machine that makes numbers increase. In this case, our man Sigurd has good numbers and extremely good theoretical future numbers. He also has a horse, which is particularly important here. In horse game. His horse is even faster than most as he begins the game as a pre-promoted paladin. We also have Alec and Noish who, despite having their own horses, aren't too good on the numbers side of things. Noish has no speed and Alec has no strength and starts with a crap weapon. The units also have skills, which we'll talk about as they come up. But since it's hard to show you something that cannot happen, know that Alec here can never be struck by a critical hit. According to the text, Noish is big into serious knightly duties, and Alec is the Joker. Series veterans might note this pair as the Christmas Cavalier archetype. There's always a pair of festive horseboys. Finally, we have Arden, my beloved. He does not possess a horse. There's also been talk of Oife, but he's not allowed to do war right now, he's 12. Let's get right into it, shall we? You know, people accuse me of doing too much wittering and not enough playing the game. Unbelievable. If you just excuse me for one moment while I get my bearings here. FE4 is known for its huge, open fields containing wave after wave of goons. There's a bunch of villages out there we have to save too, and we'll need to get on that quickly. The brigands here are going to try and smash them. The main enemy castle is across the river, but we can't swim, so we're going to have to settle for recapturing Jungbe. To that end, the road down is the most direct, though swarming with villains. I'll admit some of these moves are dubious. I think I only remembered that standing on a road makes you easier to hit with an axe a couple of turns in. That said, the plan is that everyone gets in position to fight the boys coming at us except for Sigurd, who goes forwards. None of them ever got a chance to do it, dog. It's turn 1. It's perhaps a little ominous when the first mandatory battle has a fellow land a crit off a 47 and kill one of your guys in one hit. This fight's rigged, by the way. It'll be the same every time. Look at this boy. He's in charge now. Everything's coming up DiMaggio. My favourite character. This fella can walk a heck of a way in one turn. He stops off at home to be gross for a minute and then shoots off out of the map entirely, taking the lady with him. I love you, DiMaggio. Oh, here he comes. The first 25% of the game. Unlucky. For that slight, Sigurd takes him out in short order. Other guy takes a crack at Arden, but that ain't happening. Not that Arden can do much back. The enemies in this game have a ton of health. You really need to either hit them with one absolutely cracked unit or like all of your other ones together. Oh, something else is happening. I like that everyone we meet colour coordinates their hair and knight armour. These are knights, right? Not like school children. Well, in Fire Emblem it's often both at once, I suppose.
Permission to go home, lie down, and watch some TV and rest up so my face isn't beet red for my family photo tonight?
A lot has happened before the start of turn 2. We have Lex and Hazel now. Hazel is a wizard, which means he can do this. Alright. Lex is another cavalier. He uses axes instead of whatever combination of swords and lances all our other boys are about, though. Fire Emblem always has a funny rock, paper, scissors system between swords, lances and axes, and since here, every enemy on the map has picked rock, we're all about paper right now. Swords. Lex is going to be 20% more likely to take a hit compared to everyone else we know, but at least he isn't holding a lance. Speaking of swords, it's Noish! Dang, nicely done. Not often Noish kills a guy all on his own. You might have noticed sometimes the boys fight a man and do one stab, and sometimes they do many stabs, and sometimes the other guy also gets to do many stabs. There's a couple relevant skills here. Noish has the duel skill, which means after he goes, as long as he's still got 25 hit points or more, he has a math % chance for both combatants to get a whole nother round. Alec, Hazel and Sigurd, on the other hand, no pursuit. If they have more speed than the target, even just one more speed, they always get a second shot at the end of combat. This is instead of Fire Emblem's usual mechanics for doubling, and you can't do a double attack without a skill in this. Alec and Sigurd are sword lads too, so in almost all cases they're going to have more speed than the target. In any Fire Emblem game, swords are always either the best or worst weapon type, and they are wildly powerful in this one. The attack speed math formula is just your speed minus your weapon's weight, and swords weigh basically nothing. A steel sword weighs 3, whereas an iron lance weighs 12. Kill for Adam. Kill for Adam. He's fine, folks. He's big. Sigurd. Gonna need to not get hit by any more 15% shots right now, okay? Acceptable. Lex takes a hit too, but he is also big. Doesn't go well for the other guy. Oh, there's another one down here. You're kidding. Is Sigurd gonna die in the prologue? I'm pretty sure that would be considered a game bug. That level up though. Listen close. There are two forces in this world. One of order and one of chaos. The stories will tell you this is a straightforward battle between good and evil, but that is not the case. A world completely without chaos would be a stale and sterile one. No more chance encounters. No more guessing right, no getting lucky. No more days where you wake up feeling inexplicably powerful. Even those moments where the sun comes out from behind a cloud and for one brief moment all is right with the world. Are governed, in fact, by the forces of darkness. Could human choice exist in a world of pure order? Could human thought? Imagine a world where every time you clicked a Let's Play of Fire Emblem 4, you just got some dude talking about video games. Kill for Arden. No. A world of pure order would be as unthinkable as a world of pure chaos. Little walk's so funny. Don't worry. I have a system.
I don't know what's happening right now. But
Chess is a game of almost complete order. Up until the moment the young cousin you're trying to explain the game to deploys an action man to the 64 squares, or something. The pieces are evenly matched and symmetrically arranged. The possible moves are simple, and even the attack of the humble pawn has perfect accuracy. There are no damage rolls here, no critical hits, no slot machine level up system. There isn't even a random number generator to do any of that. So for the most part, the only chaotic element is trying to, through body language alone, convince your opponent that you're comfortable going into the French defense.
Again, in the course, I have a saying about this position. So, our opponents play e6, and we don't really know if they are comfortable going into the French, because some of our opponents might allow us the chance to go for the French, knowing that we won't go to the French, because we think that they're comfortable with the French, meaning that they're going to be more comfortable in the French than we are in the French. However, they can also know that we are comfortable in the French, and we think that they are comfortable in the French.
Mahjong, on the other hand, is a game of almost complete chaos. It is bullshit. The Fire Emblem franchise occupies a fluid position between both extremes. All the numbers are fully transparent, the risks neatly outlined. You're given all the relevant information to pick a die and roll. The core series mechanics are heavily rooted in order, allowing the player perfect information, an ample opportunity to minimise risk, often even fudging the die rolls in an attempt to instill order where chaos should reign. Kaga, however, is a believer in chaos. There will be no dice fudgery here. There will be luck and madness. There will be random % chance activation skills at the dividing line between success and failure. There'll be times where the only option is to chance death, to cheat fate. One of Alex's skills is Paragon, which means when he gets XP... Whoa! Yeah, that. Double XP. He can get twice as many bad level ups.
We need to start bringing home the bacon, and we need to do it now. That's, yeah, it's not bringing home the bacon.
Here are 3 true statements in a row.
Chromium can hit a rocket now.
The odds of flipping a perfectly balanced coin and having it land on heads is 50%. And the odds of the same coin getting heads 10 times in a row is 1 in 1,024, around 0.1%. The odds of the same coin getting heads again after it's just been heads 10 times in a row is 50%. If that sounds wrong to you, or simply unfair, that's because the human brain sucks ass at understanding probabilities. A 90% shot will miss fully 10% of the time.
Yep, that 90% accurate rocket just veered into a civilian.
Statistically, in every 10 90% shots, one's gonna miss. A 15% shot will hit 15% of the time. And that's an average of 1 hit per 7.5 shots. I remember back when the Firaxis XCOM games came out, a subset of the community was so mad at the obviously cheating RNG that they dissected the game to find out just what was going on, and found that it actually was cheating. Very slightly, and only in their favour. That was a lot of words to say people get overly mad at dice sometimes. Not me though. I have a system. It's called standing in a bush to lower the enemy's hit chance to 0%. Although this seems like an important time to remind Sigurd that he has a 50% strength growth. In truth, this was the only one where Sigurd actually risked dying. We roll those, no problem. 9 days out of 10, Sigurd's fine just walking down here on his own and killing everybody without even taking significant damage. As he's not just the most powerful character in this game, he's one of the strongest in the entire series. First, there was a mountain. Here though, while his zeal is far from exhausted, I personally have become scared. Luckily, a couple more friends arrived while we were going hog wild, and the cavalry's on its way. More cavalry, I mean. Quan is, similar to Sigurd, a pre-promoted paladin, giving him good stats and an excellent move. He's a rough side grade to our beautiful mad lad with similarly overpowered stats and growths, although just about every way he differs kinda makes him just a little bit worse. Quan uses lances rather than swords. Heavy, stupid weapons that make you easier to hit with an axe. He also has a markedly less reliable doubling skill than Pursuit. Quan struggles to kill full HP enemies in one combat round, as he normally only lands the one hit. Though he does tend to land, and it tends to be a hell of a hit. His wife Ethelyn's here too. She carries a tiny sword and is almost incapable of dealing damage to enemies. She is capable of undealing damage to allies though, utilising a heal staff. And that's kinda rad. You can see how that might come in handy. I'm sure Sigurd can at least. Finally, their buddy Finn. Now, if you ask the guy, he'll tell you Finn's a bad unit who's likely to die twice without accomplishing anything. I disagree with this for a few reasons, though I will argue he's not a lot worse if Quan doesn't survive Chapter 1.
I'm having a minor session here where I'm like, Quan, you okay? Yeah, it's pretty minor. Not a problem here.
Hey,
Alright.
did you know that if Quan or Ethelyn die, they're actually just injured, and they retreat in a cutscene with their significant other, ensuring that Leaf can canonically be Bond, but also casting you 2 units at once? I didn't know. Thanks, the guy. Similarly, Finn cannot die in Gen 1. He just goes home.
Quan, hold on!
What's Gen 1? Don't worry about it.
Do we lose her healer too?
For now, Finn's probably in between Lex and Alec or Noish on the usefulness scale, though he does share his prince's unfortunate weapon type. Meanwhile, everyone else is still dealing with everything else. As per usual for the series, the maps are all going to contain a bunch of villages that need rescuing from the bandits. A few enemies will be tagged with special AI, that means as soon as the battle starts, they're going to run over and kick down all the little buildings. Like me seeing your sandcastle. Proper wrong and I am. Unlike in the other games, they tend to drop in really close to their targets though. There's often not a way you can even stop them before they start kicking. But it does now take 10 full turns for a brigand to fully destroy a village. The reward is always some dialogue and some money. 500 gold for each turn left on the timer to death. Occasionally you'll get something extra, but that is not the norm. The one right by Ljungby Castle is particularly important here. The enemies attacking from the north have all but collapsed, thanks in no small part to some solid work from Hazel and Lex. We're just working on picking off stragglers and picking up villages for now. Hazel got that one, and Noish picked up the one near Sigurd's house earlier. The real gamers out there probably plan out who'll do the rescuing a bit better than I do. For me, it's just whoever's around and I'm busy. But in this game, money doesn't go into a communal fund for the army. It goes into whoever's pocket. Swapping golden items between characters is a whole entire process in this one. Hey, while Noish is getting mentioned, that is actually not his name. It's a mistranslation in the patch I'm using, brought on by similar mistranslations in official material. He's actually meant to be called Nisha, spelled Naoise. It's an Irish name, so you have to ignore all the letters and replace them with other letters that aren't present. Nisha in the modern day is a girl's name, but is also the name of a mythological knight, a boy knight. FE4 actually draws a lot from Irish myths, so if you know a lot about it, you'll be getting more out of this than I am. You can tell how many hits a village has left by the state of the surrounding houses. 5 pristine buildings is a full health village. Every odd turn, one becomes damaged and falls over on the preceding even turn. And there was a house here. It's gone now.
Maybe I need to hit something?
Yeah, squad! Silent Hill's back in vogue. Thanks to the good folk over at Bloober Team. I haven't talked too much about it on the show, but I am a massive fan of the franchise. As long as you understand the franchise to mean only the first 4 games are real and absolutely nothing in the past 20 years actually happened. Kind of tentatively planning a video about how the remake shaked out sometime. We'll see. For now, while we're thinking about flash fiction, or at least we were 20 minutes ago, let's talk about the OG killer line from Silent Hill 2.
Neely's has seen better days. Ah, there we go. There was a hole here. It's gone now. It's the name of the stream. It's famous. I've never anymore have I felt more like a tourist than I do now. There's a famous screenshot. There we go.
The line is found written in red on the window of Neely's bar, only visible from the inside. Neely's bar is part of the chain of places you're directed to at the very beginning of Silent Hill 2, on the way to get the apartment key, so you're likely to see it. Though on repeat playthroughs you can just go get the key, you already know where it is. Unless you're playing the remake, then you've got like 2 more hours of pissing around before you're allowed to go into the apartments for some reason. That's for another video. Anyway, we got the line. Beautiful line. Powerful line. Thumbs up. Good job. But what's it mean? There is endless discourse on the subject, shared between nerds in dingy forums. Perhaps the line is a reference to holes. Holes are a real-world occurrence, sometimes, where a patch of land is significantly lower than surrounding terrain. Kinda like a reverse mountain. Is it a reference to Resident Evil 3? Or the Langoliers? Is there not a reference to the fact that James Sunderland isn't getting any? These are the mysteries people come to me to untangle. A video game expert. Anyway, everyone's wrong and dumb. The line is, of course, a rather direct reference to a line in the previous game, after Harry Mason enters the Dark World antique store and finds his way out conspicuously missing. There was a door here. It's gone now. Can't seem to find footage of that right now. We'll work our way back to it. But first, I want to tell you why the line is so good. There are a lot of Silent Hill fans in this world, but of those fans, probably 70 to 80% of them only actually care about the second game. This is wrong of them, as Silent Hill 1 is the best by miles. But I guess it doesn't have the big marketable Funko Pop guy in it, so I'll forgive your ignorance this time. It's also a game that isn't too bothered about telling you what's happening in it, which leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. For your first playthrough, you're probably going to be confused and annoyed, and then you're going to get the bad ending where it turns out it was all a dream anyway. If you want to know anything, you've got to work for it. The protagonist, Harry Mason, isn't there to investigate spooky mysteries. His young daughter's missing, and he'd rather that not be the case anymore. As such, the story's viewed through the lens of someone who doesn't really care about any of the non-saving his daughter parts of it. And you kinda gotta do the work putting all the pieces together on your own time. We at the show are gonna leave that up to you, but I will say, probably just use a guide if you're gonna go for the better endings. They are way too obtuse to figure out solo.
Hold it!
I hate this part where you need to get some gunk from this pool of liquid, which requires you to intuit that this isn't blood, and is something you'll need later, and is bottleable in the first place, and you need to have not missed the bottle, and even if you got all those, you need to use the bottle from your inventory from the, one specific pixel that the game's thinking of in the middle of this mess, or it's just not going to do anything. Horrible. So, this is a spoiler-light review of Silent Hill 1 on the PlayStation 1 now. The normal rhythm of play up to this point has been that you find a new place, wander about a bit, stumble into the Dark World version where you have to check every lock on every door all over again, and then everything goes back to some semblance of normal on your way out. You meet up with your buddy Sybil in the antique store, after uncovering a hidden door. Now, she is a cop, which sucks, but she's pretty pleasant, and she'll let you borrow her gun. The two are very focused and pointed, and they quite levelly discuss the situation despite the surrounding danger, talking daughter-saving etiquette and the like. They're more or less done when Harry brings up the thing that's been eating him.
Do you know anything about... well, like some other world? It's like some kind of bad dream.
What are you talking about?
I'm not quite sure. I try to make sense of it, but then my mind goes blank. Everything's dark there, and I hear sirens in the distance. I met this nurse, Lisa. It's like I was there, but not really. It's all a blur, like some kind of hallucination, you know?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Harry.
This is a really bad, vague description of the dark world of Silent Hill. But it gets you percolating, right?
Never mind.
The dark world is difficult to think about. Hard to describe without referencing a dream or a hallucination. Doesn't seem real. Not just in that its architecture and the things that happen therein defy conventional possibility. It also puts you in the mental state of a character in someone else's dream. In the secret room, there is a shrine to Samael, the dark god of Silent Hill. You can wander around the room for as long as you like, but as soon as you try and leave, Harry's once again whisked off to the other world. He has a quick chat with Lisa, his other friend who lives in dark Silent Hill, and then wakes up in a wire mesh room with Samael's sigil built into the floor. Trying to leave the way you came in results in a blank, doorless wall, and the message. I was so confident of that, I'd already started to write the script. Anyway, the line's great because it's the perfect way to sum up everything you've just been told. Harry's just been sucked into another world governed by dream logic. He's scared, but he can't express the form of that fear. Upon finding the way out's gone, his reaction is one you'd likely have in a dream. Ah, door's gone. Hope it comes back soon. There's a childlike incuriosity to the statement that just sells it, man. I like it so much that it's only slightly spoiled by the fact that it isn't actually in the video game. Harry enters the hidden room through a hole and not a door, and transitions to the dark world via cutscene-based teleportation. He can't try and leave the way he came in. The way he came in was a weird conversation with Lisa. The real line is just a wall. And it's not actually in the antique store. You re-enter the room, sans secret passage in Nowhere, the game's final stage. I had a story to tell. It just turned out my brain had kind of moved all of the details around to be able to tell it. The human mind is a flawed machine. Did you know you can't actually access a memory without also overwriting it? Is the line in Silent Hill 2 even real? Let me check. Yes. Is it a reference to the situation that Harry was in, then, if not a quote? Now, all the people on message boards seem to have vaguely heard about this, but not actually played the first game. So, my answer to them is... maybe? Seems reasonable to think that. Silent Hill 1 was certainly the one that established holes can be gone now, as they are wiry creatures. A concept that would be reinforced in Silent Hill 4. One comment I read pointed out that the message was written on a window, and perhaps this person was just confused by the concept of replacing the broken glass. Maybe it was just a reference to the concept of a hole after all. Silent Hill 2 certainly has plenty of them.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that to be a place I could... I've got some tongs. For when it's all gone, Pete Tong.
Silent Hill 3, at least, offers its own snappy little line. One that warrants no explanation. It's bread. I had an explanation once. It's gone now. In the time it took for me to tell that long story that went nowhere, we've knocked all the brigands off the villages and collected our protection money. Sigurd did the crucial one next to the castle, netting him some change and a speed ring, giving him a permanent +5 speed on top of his already pretty dang good score. Quan's been stuck in with the brigands around the castle, and Ethlin has been healing him a lot and dodging attacks from this annoying man. Finn even picked up a couple of kills. Great job, Finn! They look like brigands to you? All that remains is... him. The boy. This guy again. DiMaggio would be a match for just about any of our non-Sigurd units. He hits real hard with that steel axe and isn't awful with it, though a +5 speed Sigurd with weapon triangle advantage is close to impossible to hit. Not looking good, DiMaggio. I know what you're waiting for. That's a kill for Adden. And that really does just leave one. You ready? No, this ain't right. This ain't right, man. This is the worst Sigurd of all time.